Most people are terrible at selling, and they're not bad because they're unskilled. They're bad because they don't understand the psychology of influence. When I first started selling, I was an absolute disaster. It took me 37 no's to close a single deal. But then I learned there's a psychology to sales, and this is what I believe took me from 0 to millions. It had nothing to do with charisma and everything to do with understanding the human mind. And so in this video, I'll reveal to you 4 principles of how to ethically and effectively lead someone to a buying decision using influence, not manipulation. The number one reason selling feels hard is because you're trying to get them to say yes. This is a big deal. It causes you to trigger something in the buyer called a psychological repulsion reflex without even realizing it. The human brain is equipped with something called mirror neurons. These neurons are designed to subconsciously detect and reflect the emotional state of the person in front of us. And so here's the problem. When you need the sale, maybe you need it to pay your bills, maybe you need it to hit a quota, but if you're subtly anxious, desperate, or any type of outcome attached, they will feel it. Not consciously, but neurologically. Their brain reacts the way it is wired to react, with suspicion and resistance. The moment you start needing something from another human being, you lose influence. It's like dating. If you walked into a first date radiating, please pick me, the other person feels that and they pull away, and they'll probably never go out with you again. But when you show up grounded and confident and not overly attached to the outcome of the date, that's attractive. It's the same thing in sales. Confidence creates curiosity and neediness kills interest. We know from neuroscience that we are biologically programmed to assign more credibility, more authority, and more trust to people who appear to need nothing from us. Why? Because it signals status and certainty. In behavioral psychology, this is called status alignment. When your internal state projects calm confidence and you're completely detached from the outcome, the other person's brain automatically assigns you a higher status. And we're wired to follow leaders. This is the invisible reason why so many people struggle with sales. It's not what you say, it's how you show up when you say it. The less you actually need the sale, the more likely they are to buy. So even if we understand that people are more likely to say yes when we stop trying to get them to buy, why is it so hard to let go? Well, it's hard because of what our brain is hardwired to believe it means when someone says no. See, the amygdala, your brain's fear and threat centers, registers social rejection the same way it registers physical danger. That's why when you're new to sales, every no feels personal. What can we do about it? Well, first off, we can give our brain a new focus. One of the best things that you can focus on in the beginning is your average. Shift your focus to the law of averages. It means if you make enough offers, talk to enough people, or pitch enough times, some will say yes, even if most say no. Everyone has an average. The law of averages through the lens of neural conditioning is a way to rewire your brain to interpret rejection as neutral data instead of a threat. Until your nervous system is rewired, rejection feels like danger. Once it's rewired, rejection becomes information that helps you determine and improve your average. And when you're operating from data instead of fear, you can actually start to improve. You start stacking patterns and refining approaches and building real influence. Repetition is how the military builds reflexes. It's how pilots are trained. It's how elite communicators make decisions under pressure, using the principle of cognitive reassociation. The brain rewires itself through repeated exposure paired with a reframe of meaning. So the first 10 sales calls, chaos. The next 50, recalibration, finding your average. After that, it's just math. So how can we set ourselves up to have a better average? First, we need to understand that before anyone ever buys from you, they've already made dozens of unconscious decisions about who you are and whether they follow your lead. If you're trying to sell before actually shaping those decisions, you are already behind. In fact, Robert Cialdini talks about this in his book Persuasion, where he says the best persuaders become the best through persuasion, the process of arranging for recipients to be receptive to a message before they encounter it. And to do this, he argues, you need to understand that what we present first changes the way people experience what we present to them next. And he uses an example of a consultant, let's call him Eddie. In the middle of a proposal meeting, he actually figures out how to eliminate price resistance. So as he neared the end of his presentation, before revealing his $75,000 consulting package, Eddie says, "As you can tell, I'm not going to be able to charge you $1 million for this." So he anchored the value at $1 million before revealing a much lower investment. This is just one example of how powerful pre-framing is. What they hear before the offer impacts how they view the offer next. So what could this look like for you? You could use a price anchor. Example being, now I want to be transparent, this program isn't cheap, and honestly, it shouldn't be. The kind of information we're talking about here, people pay $100,000 or more for this in mastermind groups, private coaching, and high-level retreats. But I wanted to create something that delivered those kinds of results without the $100,000 price tag. So no, it's not $100,000, it's not even half that. In fact, the full investment for the program is just $10,000. You could use an identity anchor. Now, this program isn't for everyone. It's specifically designed for those who see themselves as leaders, action takers, and people who want to make a real impact with their work. So you've just pre-framed the buyer's identity. The brain goes, okay, I am that kind of person. You could use social proof pre-frames. Imagine you're on a webinar or a sales call. Instead of jumping right into your offer, you first say something like, hey, before I walk you through this offer, let me just show you what's been working and happening to the other people who've said yes. And then you share quick wins, testimonials, or results from past clients. So you're not selling yet, you're priming their brain to expect success, momentum, and transformation that is available to them. See, you shift attention toward results already achieved, which Cialdini calls channeling attention. By focusing the audience on outcomes, they'll subconsciously assume, hey, if it worked for others, why wouldn't it work for me? This is why pre-indoctrination is the hidden key to influence. It's not about what you say, it's about what people are prepared to hear. We're talking about powerful tools and principles of persuasion. And naturally, some people will push back and say, hey, you shouldn't teach that. It just gives manipulative people more ammunition. And honestly, that concern is valid because our brains are wired for protection. We're constantly scanning for hidden motives, self-interest, manipulation. It's happening whether we're the one buying or the one selling. That's why this principle matters more than anything else I could teach you today. Intention. I remember a year ago, I had a client that came on a call who was clearly not ready. She was just getting started. She kind of still thought she could figure it all out, and she kind of thought she could be successful on her own. And I told her, honestly, I don't think this is the right time for you. And so she thanked me. She didn't buy. She went off and tried on her own. And about 2 weeks later, she came back and she said, I'm ready. And she paid in full. That one decision created a trusting new client. You see, the subconscious mind is always asking, why are you doing this? Are you here to help me or sell me? If your motive is to genuinely serve, resistance drops almost instantly. That's why the most effective sales strategy isn't about pressure, tactics, or clever scripts. It's this: serve first, always. Deliver value before you ever mention a price. Educate before you pitch, coach before you close, and help before you sell. When your motive is clean and your intent is truly to help someone make the best decision for them, even if that means not buying from you, you create trust. And when someone experiences a shift in their thinking, their clarity, or their confidence because of something you said or something you taught, their brain assigns you a powerful label: trusted advisor. And from that moment on, the dynamic changes. You don't need high pressure closes or fancy quick rebuttals. You don't need to convince anyone, because here's the truth. When people can feel that your income is secondary to their outcome, that you'd rather lose the sale than let them buy something that isn't right for them, you gain real influence. And influence always outperforms convincing. That's when sales feels natural, decisions feel easy, and people chase you because they trust your intent. If you lead with that kind of heart and clarity, you won't ever need to sell again. But the truth is, knowing how to sell is just one piece of the puzzle. And if you want to achieve financial freedom or hit big financial goals, there are 9 important principles that help me go from 0 to millionaire by 33 without investors or trust funds or fancy connections. This is especially important if you're starting from scratch. And so if you're ready to apply everything we talked about and actually start building wealth and momentum from where you are right now, click on that link on the video that I'll leave on the screen here, and I'll see you over there.